The following is a press release on the current crisis in Ethiopia, read on behalf of HIBR Ethiopian Multinational Federalist Support Force. Peaceful and democratic political dialogue is the only durable way out of the current Ethiopian crisis, not force. Ethiopia is home to various nations and nationalities with diverse culture, values, languages, and religion. The Ethiopian Constitution of 1995 was adopted to accommodate and protect these multicultural identities and values in the aim to ensure fundamental human and group rights, accelerate development, and build a national unity with diversity. Abiy Ahmed's regime ended on the 5th of October 2020, but is still hanging on to power illegally against constitutional mandate. The unlawful regime is preoccupied with totalitarian governance and remaining unpleasant with the multinational federalist political system which has been in place for the past 27 years in Ethiopia. The regime has engaged in dismantling of a multinational federal government system that was established under the Constitution of 1995, which grants self-determination for nations and nationality. Following its ascendancy to power in April 2018, after months of intensive propaganda, demonization, and imprisonment of political rivalries, it embarked on instigating intra- and inter-ethnic conflicts in various parts of Ethiopia. The regime has been recently escalating conflict among ethnic groups and between regional states. The result has been internecine and that has claimed many lives and endless bloodshed. Mass murder that may be characterized as genocide was waged against innocent civilians, particularly the people of Oromo, Qimant, Agal, Benishangul Gamaz, Wolayita, Sidsma, Somalia, Afar, and other nationalities. In the Amhara regional state, government-sponsored armed groups and regional soldiers have repeatedly attacked the Qimant people and murdered hundreds of innocent civilians, children, and elders. In one family alone, 5 Qimant youths were killed and 58 minors and women were brutally murdered in one single neighborhood. The houses were burned down and buried in mass graves. Thousands of indigenous Agals and Agus were displaced from their land, and the localites called Ayu, Ayo, and Jawi in the pretext of investment, but actually it used the land and confiscated it for settlement to achieve numerical superiority, to repress the Agals' constitutional rights, perhaps even to form an autonomous state. In the Benishangul Gamuz region, more than 600 children and women were killed. Hundreds of civilians and residents were executed. Abiy has proven his collaboration with the perpetrators who share his political views by shielding them from legal accountability. Ethiopians have never witnessed this kind of state-sponsored indiscriminate killings and bloodshed in their history. In the past 2 years, the regime has waged continuous war against the Oromo people and their leaders. The regime cut off electricity, internet, and telecommunication services in the area and attacked the population, involving helicopter gunships and other heavy machinery. Furthermore, the regime is suspected of complicity in the assassination of engineer Semenu Bekele, General Sayara Mekonnen, Chief of Staff of Ethiopian National Defense Forces, and his comrade, General Gezai Abera, Dr. Ambachu Mekonnen, the former president of Amhara region, and his associates in collaboration with the foreign forces. Lately, it is also presumably assumed that they orchestrated the murder of artist Hachalu Hundessa. Abusing its political power, the regime has continuously committed crimes of varying degrees, including extrajudicial killing, unwarranted arrest of Oromo political leaders, and destruction of their properties. The regime commits such crimes in collaboration with a foreign army and security elements, but often accuses the Oromo Liberation Front and Tigray People's Liberation Front, the TPLF, for the consequences. It deploys various propaganda methods to hoodwink the public as to who the perpetrators of these crimes are, needlessly wasting limited public resources and aid funds. The regime deploys various media outlets that were once independent, but nearly all independent media now is obliged to serve the interests of the illegal incumbent government. Moreover, forging an unholy alliance with foreign forces, Abiy's regime has unlawfully extended its power beyond the expiry date of its constitutional mandate of October 5, 2020. Since its usurpation of power, the regime has meticulously cleared war on the Tigray national state. Before attacking Tigray, the regime had been jeopardizing discord between the two nations of Tigray and Amhara to take advantage of their bickering to consolidate its own grip on power. As such, the regime has approved, directly or indirectly, Addis Ababa-Tigray road blockage, people-to-people relations, and the exchange of goods and services. This illegal regime has also denied annual budget subsidy to the Tigray regional state because the state is the only Ethiopian federation that conducted the constitutionally stipulated elections. Abai's federal government postponed the elections and rejected the regional elections in Tigray. Several months prior to the election in Tigray, the federal government cut off any relationship with the Tigray regional state. After Tigray conducted the election successfully, Abai's regime nullified the election and declared the state and its leaders illegitimate. On several occasions, the rogue prime minister has dispatched assassins to kill the officials of the Tigrayan government, despite the region foiling those plots. After all of these attempts, the rogue regime has declared a full-scale war on the Tigray regional state. It is bombing numerous sites in the state from all fronts in collaboration with foreign forces, the Eritrean army, United Arab Emirates, and other mercenaries to attack its own citizens. In addition to the foreign troops, Abai's regimes has been storming the citizens of state using the full capacities of the Ethiopian National Defense Forces, the Amhara regional state soldiers, and the militia since it has launched a military campaign on November 4, 2020. Due to this war, over tens of thousands of Tigrayans have been displaced and taken refuge in Sudan. Various regional states in Ethiopia are placed under military command posts that have no qualms blatantly violating the constitutional rights of the federated nations. Ethiopia's illegal prime minister has also conspired with the foreign agents to sell the interests of Ethiopia, secretly surrendering Ethiopia's rights to the Great Renaissance Dam, the GERD, in return for their support for him to realize his infantile dream of becoming the seventh king of Ethiopia. The Ethiopians and international community has come to learn from the outgoing U.S. president that Abai has indeed sold off the country's national interests in exchange for his own personal gain. Doing so, creating unnecessary tension among Ethiopia's closest allies, such as Kenya, Sudan, Djibouti, and with regional organizations, the Intergovernmental Authority for Development, IGAD, and the African Union. Our statement of resolution and call. We, HIBR Ethio Multinational Federalist Support Force, have hereby issued a statement on civil war in our country Ethiopia, calling Ethiopian compatriots in the international community to stand with us to stop war, minimize the depredations of war, and save the country from imminent state collapse. The following is a list of 10 demands we intend to see implemented immediately. Number 1. Condemn the war. We condemn in the strongest terms the rogue regime's desire to remain in power using the military as a means to impose his will on the peoples of Ethiopia and deplore the inexorable militarization of the country for Abai's personal interests. Number 2. Condemn politics of the gun. We strongly condemn the war on the Tigray regional state and its people. We, the Ethiopian nations and nationalities, stand with Tigray regional state and its people in their resistance to reserve constitutional rights and existence. We also condemn ongoing attacks in Oromia, Sidsma, Wolayita, Qimant, Agar, Benishangul Gumuz, Afar, Ogaden Somali, Shikacho, and other places in the country. Number 3, we demand to end foreign intervention. We demand a swift and unconditional withdrawal of foreign forces meddling in Ethiopia's internal affairs, specifically the treasonably unholy alliance between the Eritrean dictator and his Ethiopian counterpart. We demand all of Eritrea's army, military, and security agents illegally operating in Ethiopian government institutions to leave Ethiopia's sovereign territory without any delay. Number 4, commitment to Constitution. We reaffirm our commitment to the Ethiopian Constitution, which embraces the multinational federalist government system and the only pillar of peace and stability, symbol of unity, fraternity, equality, and peaceful coexistence, not the cause of conflict. Thus, we stand to defend and protect its foundational principles and values as the social compact of the nations of Ethiopia. Number 5, reject imposition of unitary system. A fundamental challenge Ethiopia facing today is an attempt to reimpose a dictatorial unitary system, and we condemn any move to reinstall dictatorship upon repression and melting of Ethiopian nations and nationalities. Number 6, reject military adventures. We call on the Ethiopian government institutions to reject military adventures, engage in a constructive and inclusive national dialogue, and return to a democratic path in order to ensure lasting peace and security in Ethiopia and save the country from imminent implosion. Number 7. Demand release of prisoners. We demand that all political prisoners and individuals incarcerated because of their ethnic identity or political views currently languishing in prisons and makeshift holding centers throughout the country be unconditionally released and compensated for their losses. Number 8. Call on the international community. We call on all peace, justice, and democracy-loving nations in the world and all multilateral institutions such as the AU, the EU, and notable individual states who have goodwill towards Ethiopia to exert diplomatic pressure on the Ethiopian rogue regime unconditionally to stop the war it is waging against its own citizens and sit down for a peaceful and all-inclusive political dialogue. Number 9. Demand to dismantle command posts. We call on Abai's rogue regime unconditionally to dismantle all command posts and replace them with civil administration that is accepted by the local people. We also urge the National Army to reject militarism and return to its constitutional duties of defending the Constitution, constitutional order, and protecting the sovereign territories of the country. 10. Demand to stop war. We urge the rogue regime to stop its war unconditionally against the citizens, instead advise it to urgently call for all-inclusive peaceful dialogue, where all stakeholders, political parties, community representatives, and religious groups come together to identify tragic, multidimensional problems to be able to devise a common strategy out of these pernicious political, economic, and social crises that potentially disintegrate the country. Read on behalf of Ethiopia Multinational Federalist Support Force, the EMFSF.